Hi, I'm Mrs. Mannion. Welcome to the EYFS induction meeting. The aims of this meeting for you is to give you an overview of the curriculum that is covered in reception, to give you an understanding of how we teach those and what they involve, and to identify key ways that you can help us at home with your child, and then to really understand what school readiness is. So we teach the early years foundation stage, which actually started from birth, and you would have been used to that from when you were in nursery, because it's the same curriculum, we just move on to the end of reception. And it's all based through learning through play and active learning. There are 7 areas that we have within the EYFS. We have communication language, physical development, PSED, literacy, maths, understanding the world, and expressive arts and design. There are 3 prime areas that we really focus on in EYFS, and they are communication language, physical development, and PSED. And these are the essential elements of our curriculum to make sure that your child is safe, resilient, happy, and ready to learn. In communication language, it is all about lots of listening, their attention span, how much concentration they have, the responses they might give us to all different kinds of questions. And as you can imagine, at the beginning of the year, 4-year-olds trying to get them to sit for more than 5 seconds can be quite a challenge. Speaking, again, we want them to explore new words, we want them to extend their vocabulary, we want them to be able to express themselves in positive ways, we want them to be able to organise and sequence themselves along with their peers and adults. Physical development comes into 2 different areas. We've got our gross motor skills, which is what you would normally associate with PE, so their jumping, their running, their coordination, the ball throwing. And then we have our finer motor skills, which is how we use our hands basically, and finer tools. So can they use scissors? Can they hold a pencil? Can they control those really well? There's a little bike riding for you there. And as you can see here, we've got our footy bugs, which we'll talk a little bit later for you, how they hold their grip, even washing hands, even putting their own shoes on. Silly things like one of the most difficult things that we find they have is how to put a coat on and off, which if you've got nothing to do in the summer holidays while you're all in lockdown, if you could teach them to put their coats on and off, that would be amazing. Okay, and then we go on to the next important one, which is our personal, social and emotional. So understanding their own feelings and why they're having their feelings and how they can regulate them and actually control them, because we all know our children can get very angry and they're too little yet to understand what to do with that. So hopefully we give them some tools and they can watch other behaviours as well of how to control their emotions. How to manage themselves, that is right down to going to the toilet, dressing themselves and understanding how to make healthy choices. And then building the relationships. Obviously, it's going to be very different from them being at home with maybe their brothers and sisters or their cousins or their few friends to coming into a class of 30. They will very quickly have to learn to adapt and share with their peers. And here's just obviously some lovely pictures of some of the things we do to reinforce all that personal and social stuff. And then we have our secondary area. Okay, we've got literacy, maths, understanding of the world and expressive arts and design. So literacy, again, is split into 2 different sections. We have reading comprehension and word reading. So it's not just about can they read the words, it's are they understanding the sentences that they're reading and what do they mean? Can they answer questions about the text and the books? And they have a really good fluid understanding of words, and that can be irregular words and normal common words, what we call. Again, we'll go into a little bit more details about phonics later on. And in writing, we will start by just mark making still, and we will start with our CBC basic words, and by the end of reception, believe it or not, your little ones will be writing full sentences that they can read themselves and that also we can read for them. As you can see here, we've got all different types. It's not just pen and paper. We try and make it as fun as possible with the glitters always out, the flowers always out, the paints are out, the feathers are out, anything we can think of that will encourage them. The lightsabers are out for the boys to see if we can get them writing, anything that engages them mark making and those initial literacy skills. And in maths, again, they're split into 2. We have number, which is our recognising numbers up to 10, and this new curriculum is really based on the mastery of maths. So though it looks like we're simplifying and keeping till 10, actually we are going into a lot more depth. The children will be expected to know their odds and evens, they will need to know their number bonds, they will need to know their doubles, and we do this all within the frame of 1 to 10, which actually their maths has been amazing this year, and it will astound you just at how confident they are within those numbers. And then we have number patterns, which again is just all those number patterns, and it starts with estimation, and it starts with the differences with numbers and really understanding the place value of all those numbers. And here, as you can see, it's not just done on paper and pen. Most of our maths is all done practically so that they can enjoy doing those games and they can really get their head around those numbers. And then we have Understanding the World. This time we're in 3 different sections. We have People, Culture and Communities, which is talking about mainly them to start with. You know, who do they live with? What's their family? What do they know? And to them, the past is, do you remember when you were 2? And we look a little bit further onto that. We look about different communities, different traditions, and so that they can learn that everybody has a different kind of image and household and tradition and customs as well. And then past and present, again, we're talking about different roles of society this time. We do look at some famous things, especially when we're doing space. Neil Armstrong is a famous of ours, and we look at artists from the past as well and how they have helped us. And the natural world, again, we have the pleasure of having an amazing forest school programme, which again we'll touch on a little bit later. We have our own pond and garden out there, but also within our restraints and our outdoor area, we do explore lots of the natural world. And expressive arts and design is just that. They are very creative. We give them all sorts of things, and you will really enjoy the junk modelling that will be sent home every week, and their lovely goggles we make and binoculars and anything else we can think of that we will be sending home for you to put on your mantelpiece forever. I'm sure you will love us for that. And performing is a really big part of our curriculum. It gets them speaking, it's very social, it's good for their confidence, and that could be just through role play, it could be through the computers, it could be through singing. We try and do that in a variety of ways. As you can see, there's lots of things going on here. We like to make lots of noise and lots of mess in reception. So, a typical day, what does that look like for your child when they come in? Obviously, when you first come in, it might be a little bit different. They might be a little bit nervous, and so were you, but the routine very quickly comes into place. So they will come in and self-register, which you will see a little clip in a minute of how they do that. It gives them something to do when they walk through the door, gives them, and we have sort of a big clue of who's in, who's independent, and how they're doing that day while we settle them all in. They have something called a busy book, which they come and take from their drawer, and they will write words, names, sentences, depending on where they are at that stage. And again, they'll do that while we're waiting for everybody to come in and settle down. Then we do our phonics, which again, we will talk about in a bit. And then we've got continuous vision, which just means everything that's out in the room, and the children are allowed to do continuous vision through most of the day if they're not in a teaching session. This isn't just playing, as they like to see. It is, we are very conscious of people who like to play with cars and nothing else, so we might put it in the water, we might have sounds on them, it might be a challenge that they have to do with them, they might be put in paint so they can bark-mate with them, all sorts of ways of us getting the objectives while the children are having fun and engaged. Then we go on to our assembly. We have a daily assembly in the hall with everyone else, which is a good chance for us to socialise with the rest of the school and get used to their customs as well. And then we move on. When they come from assembly, we will have our dojim. Again, we will be showing you a video in a bit about what dojim is like. And then we have literacy, which I've discussed before, and they are normally teacher-led in small groups. And lunch, again, we will touch on lunch for you in a minute. And we have registered to make sure that we've got everybody in, and then we will do a carpet session for maths, but then they will go off and do their practical challenges around the room. And we have a bit more continuous vision for them before we come at the end of the day to have a nice circle time and story. Right, for reading, I'm going to hand over to the lovely Miss Gill, who's one of our reception teachers, and she's going to give you a bit more detail about how we do reading.
Hello. Well, reading. So we've been, you guys are really, really lucky because you're going to experience lots of new books this year rather than if you've had children come through here before and read lots of the old books. It's nice to have some more fresh ones. Exactly, floppy, that was from Mrs. Mannion. So here are a couple here. When your child first starts in reception, they normally start on a wordless book unless they're already on a word book, at which point we will assess that anyway and speak to you. The wordless books, you'll have 2 home each week. These are really good for comprehension, talking about the story, really good for language. They definitely have a place within our curriculum. Once we start our phonics sessions, that's when we'll start with learning our sounds, learning different words, learning how to blend. That's when we're likely to move your child onto a book with words in. Again, they will have 2 a week. One will be more of like a phonics book, which means that they'll be able to sound out all the words in there and they'll be able to read it independently. Obviously, they still might need some of your guidance at the start. And then other books like this one, they are a bit more of a storybook, so you can read them together. They might not be able to read every single word in these books, but that's fine. They're there to help you, you're there to help them understand different words within the books and talk about the story together. So don't worry with these books if they can't read every single word. They're just there for you to have a discussion about the story. Again, these books like this, actually inside them they have an adult page and a child page, so it makes it really clear for you. Also, if you're unsure, at the start of the books they give you a lot of guidance of the different types of words in there that they should and shouldn't know, so it's all very self-explanatory within them. Obviously we're all here for you if you need any help, if you have any questions. We have a reading diary which goes back and forth between school. If you have any questions we can check them in there as well. Thank you.
There will be more information for you near the time when you get your first reading, but we will send you a letter and a bit more guidance, so don't panic about trying to remember all the information. It's just to give you a quick snippet of how we do our reading. Now we're going to talk to you about phonics, and I'd like to introduce the lovely Mrs. Malloy, who's going to give you a bit more information.
Hi, so yeah, as Mrs. Manning said, I'm going to talk to you about phonics, and this is how we are going to teach your children to read and write. We do it every day. And it is the same routine. We do it first thing in the morning when the children come in, so they're nice and fresh, because it's such an important part of their learning at school. We teach it through the government scheme that they introduced, which is letters and sounds. And we find that it's really quite practical, so the children are always engaged and they enjoy actually taking part in the lessons. So we start by teaching phase 2. Phase 1 is taught in nursery, so our children will come up with that knowledge already. So we start with phase 2. In phase 2, we will introduce the children to individual sounds, and they will be taught in a specific order. Every day the children will learn a new sound, and we will send the sound cards home for the sounds that they learned that week. So for example, set 1, the children will start with these sounds, and then the first week they will come home with those sounds for you to practice at home. Okay, and as you can see, we work through to eventually having some 2-sounded words which are called digraphs, and we'll be teaching the children that word and what those sounds mean. As we move on, hopefully the children will learn to blend those sounds together and build their first words and to start to read. Very simple, what we call CVC words. As we move on to phase 3, we have more digraphs. So the children have a lot more digraphs to learn, but that enables them to read a lot more words. We'll also be starting to ask the children to think about writing in sentences by this point and using those digraphs in their writing. Again, we do it all very practically, as you can see. We do it, and it's all the things we teach in the phonics lesson are put out into our continuous provision, so that the children have a chance to practice those skills throughout the day. And then finally, by the summer term, we'll be working on phase 4 with your children, which is starting to introduce the idea of blends. And these are tricky blends with things like S and T or S and P that sound like they're almost a digraph, but actually they are just 2 sounds that are put together quite quickly. And then we have some more tricky words that we'll teach the children as well in that phase.
Thank you, Mrs. Malloy. On the point of phonics, it does sound a bit daunting, and it is something that you might not have heard of some of those words before, or even knew that there was 44 phoneme sounds, but we do hold a workshop for our reception parents very early on in September, so do not worry about that. And again, whenever you get anything home, the sound cards and words, we will always give you some more guidance alongside it, okay? And then after we've done our phonics, as I spoke to you before, we do our continuous revision, which is free flow across the classroom, activating anything they want in and out. So our door's always open, so it is vital that they always have a coat with them, and a named coat, can I just add, because whether it's snowing, whether it's raining, whether it's hailing, those children will be outside. We are lucky and we have a lovely canopy, but it can still get quite cold out there. And then we have our assembly, which can be everything from our mindfulness post, which is one of the programs we use called Jigsaw, or we obviously will have a hymn practice throughout the week, and also we will have our Friday Endeavour, which is a lovely assembly where the children come together, and each week someone is chosen out of the class for something amazing that they've done that week, and we all celebrate together. When we come back from assembly, at the beginning of the year in autumn, we will have something called Dough Gym and Funky Fingers. This is a really, really good, fun, energetic programme that only lasts for 3 minutes, and we have got a little video instead of you having to watch me waffle my way through it. I hope you enjoy. When we have finished autumn term, coming into spring, we tend to ease off our dojin, which is all about our finer motor skills, and most of the children are ready and writing quite comfortably. So we move into our handwriting, and we use the scheme from Pen Pals, which is fabulous, and it goes through each of the characters, as you can see on here, and we will, again, a bit like our phonics, we go through them at certain sides. We will also be giving you some information, and there's stuff on the website as well where you can access what handwriting and what letters come first if you think your child needs extra support. And then we will have our literacy before lunch, and this is normally based around one of our books. We have some amazing books and amazing resources that go with our books, and it's the topic throughout reception. And it is all just that love of book. It's reading the stories, looking at the text in the stories, looking at the illustrations of the stories, comparing them to like-for-like stories, and really understanding what makes a funny story, what makes a sad story, and obviously we will look at non-fiction books as well to go with our topics. Okay, then we're moving to lunchtime, which I know a lot of parents are worried about. Please do not worry, we have the most amazing kitchen staff who are really friendly and lovely, and very quickly your children will become independent and not bat an eyelid at lunchtime. We all go in together as a class, as you can see. They will go up to the hatch and help themselves, but please do not worry, I will be there throughout the lunch, and the TA assigned to your class will also be with them, and they also have lunch with them. They do not leave them at any point, so they always have somebody with them. So by the time that the first week is over, lunch is just really exciting, and hopefully you'll hear what you've had, because that's most of the thing that my son used to tell me when I got home was, what have you done all day? I could just got what you had for lunch. So please do not worry about the meeting, and you will find, annoyingly, that they will eat food that they never eat at home, and you'll be disappointing, and apparently the cook cooks a lot better than you do. My spaghetti bolognese apparently is nothing compared to schools. So once they've had lunch, they will clear away their own plates. We make them quite independently. Our meals are cooked on site, and they're provided with 4 choices every day, and the experienced staff will help them as well, and there is also a variety of puddings that they can choose, and we also have a lovely little salad bar as well that they can choose. So once they've cleared their plates away, they will then go out to play. And after play, they will come in, and again, like they did at the beginning of the day, they will self-register again, so we know everybody's here and everybody's safe. And we go into maths. Maths in reception is done very, very practically. There is a small teaching session at the beginning to embed and to bring in the new topics that we'll be exploring, and then the classroom is set up to help embed that learning and really kind of get their knowledge, and in a very fun and physical way. You can see we've got whiteboard stuff going on, we've got practical activities, we've got physical activities, we've got challenges that they have to work out, and all of this is based around whatever we're doing that week. And then they will go off and do their choosing at continuous revision time. Again, that gives us teachers time to do a bit of observations, a bit of chatting, a bit of watching what's going on, and calling anyone else we need to do individual work with. And then they will have their story time, and believe it or not, that's the day over. It's a very full packed day. They will come home hopefully exhausted, but very happy. So among our curriculum, between all of that, we have the privilege of being able to have forest school. We have the lovely Mrs. Bullock, who is a forest school teacher, who takes them out, and we try and do it on a termy basis. So for half a term your class will have them, and it rotates through, so twice a year we have a good 6 weeks period of forest school. And we also have footy bugs coming into school, which most of your children, if you came here, will know that we had it in nursery, so it's nothing new for them. It's just building already on their skills. And although some of you might say, oh, my child doesn't like football, it is actually more to do with stories and social skills, and those finer motor skills as well, and coordination skills. It's all put together so that the instructors read a story and they have to act them out using their ball skills. It's absolutely brilliant, and they love it. So the first few weeks, what happens, because obviously they don't come in amazingly, walk in, sit down and start learning straight away because they're used to everything. So we want them to get to know each other, we want them to settle in, and we want to know what you already know about them, how they are, how they interact as a class, and just generally have a really lovely welcoming first few weeks. And to develop those, we then have a profile. And to do this, we use the programme Too Simple. Again, it's just an evidence-based. We use the iPad, which the kids absolutely love, and more often than not, you get a tap on the shoulder going, Miss, can you get your iPad, please? You need to come and take a picture of my wonderful thing that I've made, or you need to record us doing that song. So we get to make notes, exactly what's happened, it's dated, it's pictured, and then for us we can link it to the curriculum, which tells us which bits we've covered, what they've done, and what learning we need to take them next. And the other amazing thing about this is you get sent home one of these observations every month, so you will get an email to activate your account if you don't have one, and we will then send you one of these lovely observations once a month. And also you can then return that, which we really love receiving, of anything you've done that's special or different, or just that you've been questioned and they've come out with something amazing, and it gives us that really whole homeschool picture. Okay, so general things that we haven't covered that you just might be a little bit curious about. We have our morning routine, which is what I talked about. They will come in and get their busy book, and they will do their self-registration before we get ready to start. We have milk delivered to school and water on tap all the time. It is left on our snack table, and they throughout the day can choose when and where they come and get it from. Lunchtime play, I know, is another worry because we talk about the big playground. We do get them out on the big playground as soon as possible, and most of the children can't wait to either see big brothers or sisters or get on the climbing frame or the track. And there might be a few that are a little bit more shy. Please do not worry about your child. We have a beautiful reception outside area that's just exclusive for us, and if there is anyone that is a bit more worried, then they just stay in our area until they're ready to go out. There is nobody is pressured to do anything, and we take it all at your child's pace. We do ask that you do not bring any personal items in or toys. I know some children have their favourite blanket or their favourite toy, but it just causes more hassle than it does enjoyment. If ever it got lost or it got dirty or it got damaged, we would never forgive ourselves. And the other thing, I am just going to show you our drawers, which you will see why we can't bring things in, and you will see why I'm going to ask the next request as well. So as if by magic, here is one of the children's drawers. They all have one of these with their name on. They will know where it is. We keep their reading diary in there, and we keep their hole punch, which is a celebration, little reward thing we have in for them, and anything else they might want. As you can imagine, they will have their book bag in there. They will have their diary in there, and without a doubt, at some point, they will have a screwed up jumper put in there. These are not large at all, and we have trouble putting them in the trays. So I beg, there is no keychains put on your book bags. If you want to sew labels on it, if you want to put stickers on your book bag to personalise them, that is absolutely fine. I do not have anything against key rings. I absolutely love key rings, but they get stuck in the drawers, they hang out, and it actually causes a lot of trauma. So I would ask that you can decorate your bag however you want, just not in keychains. Thank you very much. And as if by magic, the drawer has come back again. So also photos throughout reception. You have filled out whether you would like them on Facebook or on the internet, and all of the disclaimer things that you would have filled out. In reception we do ignore that. I apologise. What we mean by that is, in our reception class, we want your child to feel like this is their room, it's their space, it's their sanctuary, it's where they want to belong. So everywhere in this room we will have photos of your child. It's next to every piece of work. So I don't know if you're like me, when I've got 30 pieces of work hanging up and I go, which one's yours? They're going to go, I don't know what I did this morning. So it's really lovely. We put their photographs next to them. They can identify the work, and also, more importantly, they have lovely chats when they're pointing at each other, because they can identify their friends' pictures as well. And also, if you do have days when you come in with us, like Mother's Day or special days and open days, you can then go out and straight away you can spot your child's work. So we do count that. Nobody has a problem with that. It's not shared, it's not anything, it's just in our personal space. So if there is any issues, please come and see me personally about that. Thank you very much. Okay, sickness. We do ask, obviously you're aware that little children will pick up things, especially if they've been off, and that we ask that you stay home for 48 hours or let us know if they're sick. Again, that does seem a bit extreme, but we work so closely together that it's very quickly, a whole class can go down if somebody has come back too soon. Now, school readiness. What on earth is school readiness? This is the new buzzword that has been going around. And the EYFS defines school readiness as a broad range of skills, knowledge, attitudes children need for the foundations for good future progress. But we wanted to kind of get a bit deeper with that and go, what do you actually mean by that? So we think that it should consist of 3 pillars. We think the children need to be ready for school, we think families need to be ready for school, and we think us as a school need to be ready. And we would like to work together, and we actually believe that school readiness means children are school ready when they're resilient and confident, with a keenness to learn and have effective personal and social skills, which goes right back to the philosophy of EYFS when we're looking at those 3 primary areas. That's what it's all about. If we haven't got a child confident or resilient or happy child, there is no way they are going to come in and sit and learn their alphabet and do their phonics. So it's a whole picture. We can't do that second stage until we get that first stage right. On the note of school readiness that we've just discussed, you will have been given a checklist, which normally would be given to you tonight so that I can explain it at a meeting, but obviously because we're doing this a little bit different, you would have received it at home. I just wanted to reiterate that it is for our guidance so we can get a profile of how your child is, give you a little bit of a clue of where we would expect them to come in at this age, but it is not written in stone. It may not apply to your child. You may have different issues. They may have had illnesses. They may have additional needs. As long as we have been made aware of them, do not panic. We would not expect every child to be at that stage, and we will work with you and with them to make sure that they are started off in the right position and that we move them where they need to go. But on that note, we would expect things like toilet training to have been done, and what we mean by that is that they can clean themselves up after. We have lots of children that love to come in on their first day and will shout us from the toilet asking if we can wipe their bums because they don't do it properly. That is something that we can't do. It takes 2 adults to come and do it, and it can be take off quite a considerable bit of time. Obviously, if there is issues with your child, then again, as long as you have communicated that and we have a plan in place, that is absolutely fine. But generally the rule is that by the time they come to reception, we would expect them to be able to go to the toilet by themselves, clean themselves up and wash their hands. And if you need any kind of support with that, please do not hesitate to approach the school and speak to us first. It really is about the school readiness of children, the family and us all communicating with each other. And as long as we have all the information, there isn't anything that we can't do together. And finally, you'll be glad to know that we have nearly come to the end of this very long presentation. We would just like to say that we love it when you volunteer and you help out with school. So if you have any time at all and you have any skills that you would like to offer, that would be fantastic. The only thing I will just highlight is that it can't be done in your child's year group, just because normally your child just wants to spend all day with you rather than with their own class. So, but if you could help out, that would be wonderful. If you have any worries, please do not hesitate to talk to us. We are happy for emails, for us to call, or even in the morning if you just want to speak to someone that's on the door and say that you would like a phone call or to arrange a meeting, that would be fab. Mornings are a little bit fraught, so we would ask that you don't ask to see us unless it's an emergency in the morning, but we're more than happy to arrange a time to see you at yours and our convenience. Also on the morning note, the TAs will be there to support your children and bring them in, so we do ask that very quickly when they're brought to the door, they're left at the door and they walk in. It does make coming in so much easier, and although you might be secretly crying on your way back because your little one's coming to nursery, I can assure you that by the time they've got to their classroom, they are not upset and they are ready to go. Home organisers, when you come in, I think we've got a different day now. We used to have them signed. Can you just make sure that all of those front sheets are signed ready for when we start? And please, can I ask that every day when you're reading or you're doing anything with them, you please do put them in there, because that is a really good way that we can communicate with each other. There is a questionnaire about tonight, but luckily you don't have to fill that in because you're not here with us. Normally I would ask you to sign and say how brilliant we've been and how informative you found it, but obviously we will send that on instead as well. We really look forward to working with you in September and meeting your child. I know this has been very different and we're not normally doing it in front of a screen, so please bear with us. I hope it hasn't been too bad. We will send the PowerPoint on as well, so you'll have the information, because I understand it's lots and lots to go through, and hopefully you'll get the chance to meet all the other parents and socialise like we would normally do. But I'm so pleased that you've chose Dorridge, and we're really excited to work with your child in September. Thanks very much.